Hey everyone, it's Chris at Service Autopilot, and welcome to the first how-to video of 2016. Sorry it's been so long since we put one out for you, but today I want to talk about how to create packages, what packages are, when they should be used, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how to use this feature. For a lot of you this time of year, packages, especially maybe renewing packages if you're already a Service Autopilot user, is going to be a big part of what you're doing. So let's jump into the system here, and I'm going to show you what packages are and how to use them. So to start, we're going to go underneath our scheduling settings, and we're going to create a brand new package from scratch. So I'll select the option that says Master Packages. And as you can see, I've already got a lot of stuff in this list here. We're going to create one from scratch at first, and then we'll go back and look at one that I've already created. So we'll click Add a Package. All right, so we're in our Master Package Editor. So let's just take a second and talk about what you should use packages for. Packages are essentially reoccurring waiting list jobs. And what I mean by that is that they're jobs that are going to happen more than one time throughout the year, but it's really hard for you to tell, especially maybe up front in your season, exactly which dates the different occurrences of this job will happen. So, a couple of examples, and I'll give you a lawn care and landscaping example first. Fertilization and weed control is perhaps the picture definition of what a package should be. Typically in a fertilization and weed control package, people will call them programs, and it might have anywhere from 4 to 8 rounds. And a package can work similar. So let's just build that example out here, and you'll start to see exactly what I mean here by reoccurring waiting list. So we'll name this here my new FERT package. And if you're not lawn care and landscaping, you should definitely continue to watch, because there are potentially services that you offer that could fit into this. Just some examples off the top of my head. If you're pest control, you're going to want to be using packages. If you have any type of business where you're doing like a quarterly inspection or maybe a biannual inspection, you're going to want to use packages. They're really useful for that type of service. So we'll say my new FERT package right here. I'll just select the renewal date, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. I guess I have to select it. It won't let me type it. So I'll select the end of 2016. Okay, so the very first thing that we've got in a package is a round. We call them rounds internally. You don't have to think of them as rounds necessarily, but that's what makes the most sense to me. So we have one blank item here, and that's going to represent my round. So I'm going to name this round 1. You might want to name it first visit or something like that. Maybe if it's a quarterly service, you might call it quarter 1, quarter 2, Q1, Q2, something like that. So I've got round 1, and now I select what service happens during round 1. And so this is my actual list of service items in the system. So for this example, I'll select fertilization and weed control. In your account, you might be more specific than just fertilization and weed control. Your services might be named pre-emergent or crabgrass control or grub control or whatever types of services that you're offering. I actually recommend to name them that specifically and not just use a generic fertilization and weed control name here. Okay. So this is the service that happens during round 1, and now I select what date range this service happens. And now this is not necessarily for one specific customer. This is for any customer that is going to be a part of this package. Or if you're using the word program, just think of it that way. For all of my customers, I want to complete round 1 somewhere between this start date, and so I'll just say February 15th, And we want to have every customer completed by this end date. So I'll just say 3/31/2016. So now all of my customers that get assigned to this package will need to be done, round one will need to be done somewhere between February 15th and March 31st. So we'll skip over some of these options for now. We'll come back to them. I'm going to add a second service by clicking the Add Service button. We'll call this round 2. So now I'm going to select my second service. Again, I don't really have detailed service names in this account here. For you, you might have a totally separate service name for round 2, but I'll just select fertilization and weed control again for my purposes. And so for me, round 2 might start on, we'll say, April 1st. And we want to have all of our customers round 2 done by, I'm going to say, the end of May. So we'll do May 30th, 2016. Okay. So now I've got 2 rounds built, and you can see how the pattern might continue here. If I've got 8 rounds in my package, I would just continue to add services until I had 8 items here, and they were all named appropriately with the correct date ranges. So let's come back to this column right here and talk about what it means and what it does. Yeah, exactly what it does. Minimum days between is essentially a safeguard that you can build in that keeps you from accidentally scheduling jobs too early. And here's what I mean by that. In my example, my round 2 backs right up to my round 1. So round 1 ends on 3/31, round 2 starts the very next day. But I might not want to send a technician or a crew to do round 2 for a customer until a certain number of days have passed. In the fertilization weed control world, the example here is you clearly don't want to go torch somebody's yard. And so I might say my minimum days between service is 30 days. So what this allows me to do, or what it allows the system to do, is look to see for a specific customer how many days have passed since round 1 happened. So let's just say that I've got 4 or 5 people, or maybe 500 people on this package. One of those people, we'll call them John Smith, and this is one of my customers, we'll say, maybe he got his round 1 service and it was completed on 2/15 exactly. Well, round 2 starts on 4/1, which is more than 30 days past 2/15. And so on 4/1, John Smith in that example would be eligible to be scheduled for round 2. He'd be ready to go for the next round. Whereas I might have another customer, Jane Doe, who also is a part of this package. Maybe we didn't get to her round 1 because, again, maybe we've got 500, 1,000, 5,000 customers on this package, and so we can't do everybody in a day. And maybe we didn't get to her round 1 until March 1st, we'll say. We completed her round 1. Well, for Jane Doe, even though round 2 technically does start on April 1st, the system will ask me to wait 30 days after her service to start round 2. So in that case where she was done on 3/15 or the 1st of March, I would have to wait until April 15th, 30 days later, in order to do her round 2, which is perfectly fine because April 15th still lands squarely in between April 1st and May 30th. And so it allows the scheduling of these jobs to be somewhat dynamic based on the last service date. So I'll continue on here. You can add default hours, budgeted man hours for these services, default rates. Chances are this is going to be different for every single customer, so don't worry about filling anything out here. The Notepad icon, this works very similar to any type of job in Service Autopilot. This is simply the notes that the technician or the crew leader is going to see when they go out to do this job in the field. Okay, so like I said, let's just pretend that we had created 8 different rounds of this. Now I can save my changes and my new package is created. Now if I wanted to go add this package to a customer, I could simply pull them up from my list, and we'll just find somebody here. We'll do John Caldwell. And now I can click Add a Job, and we'll choose a package job. So I can now search for my list of packages, and I believe we called that one My New FERT Package. And there we go. There are my 2 rounds. So I can actually select, if John specifically only wants one of these 2 rounds, I can deselect one here. He doesn't have to get both. So I can kind of custom tailor the package just for him, including his price and his budgeted man hours, and even his notes for the job.